the AI really can scale, and not only can scale, but also can produce the value, the business value that we originally thought. More tools slow you down. More tools slow down the adoption as well, and that increasing the cost drastically and slow down the speed in adopting many cases. Really talk about what's the right structure. Some firm hire chief AI officer to run and build a very standalone AI organization that is multidisciplinary, has product people, engineer, everybody sitting in under chief AI officer to giving the board would give the CAIO the accountability and from end to end. That's one way. So the first topic is really from pilot to production. If you hear Anthropic, the CEO Darren has been telling us, AI is replacing software engineers. Yesterday, I saw an article, he's claiming nobody should be a lawyer or finance person, or in the consulting business anymore, and AI is going to be quickly replacing all the jobs. But what's the hard reality? Based on McKinsey's survey for all the industry sectors in 2025, less than 10% of the AI use case is still in pilot. It's not scaled to production yet, whether by any function, whether it's knowledge management, or marketing, sales, or trading, or some of the HR and finance functions. So what does that mean? The hard reality is AI is quickly in pilot, but hasn't been really rolled out to production to produce real significant value yet. Which means, the days that AI is going to replace everybody's job is still very, very long, and that is something we should be keep in mind. And why is that? Why the hard reality is AI hasn't been able to produce the value that this technology has the potential for yet? Because it's hard. Building a pilot is far away from launching a sustainable and a very resilient application in production that's solving a hard, complex business problem, right? And I'm just showing the 3 stages that my firm, my bank, is using to scaling AI, and I want to just illustrate the complexity of moving an AI pilot to production and then to a scalable production, the process, and why it's complex, and why a lot of organizations hasn't been able to achieve the value yet. And for instance, in moving the pilot to production in my bank, we undertake 2 steps. One is focus on technology, and then the second track is focus on people and the process, right? From technology perspective, we have a very large checklist of making sure the pilot is production ready, from design, from architecture, from infrastructure, from performance, from data perspective. And then from people and the process, we focus on making sure there's good communication, the training and the skill sets is available, and there's parallel process that ensure the pilot addressing every step of the real production process. And there's also a review for the people and the process, a review for the benefits and the cost. Does that meeting the expectation and what has been committed to? There's a review on the risk and the compliance, and that's really a huge process step that before any AI pilot, whether it's agentic AI, predictive AI, AI agents can move to production. And a lot of AI agents stop still in POC, MVP, or pilot stage without having the ability to move into production and realize that true value because some of the evaluation process failed, right? And then even a few cases that is able to move to production, we also have a couple of tracks to ensure that production AI agent is continue to perform continue to scale, continue to be able to produce and increase that value along the way, right? So for instance, we implement a continuous improvement process for the AI agent, ensure the data management is fixing, ensure the data quality and data timeliness, and there's data issue, data breaks is going to be addressed. We ensure the resilience of our platform. We ensure our performance and from both hardware and the system and the web infrastructure performance perspective, meeting that requirement. So there is that continuous improvement for any production AI system or AI agents. And then for the major change, we implement process to evaluate the design, look at the design, and we also evaluate people, process, and AI risk compliance and the documentation. So it's really treated like a brand new mid-sized project for any major enhancement, right? So that process is pretty complex and pretty lengthy. So that really explains along the way those evaluation. Any step could break. Any step could find a problem, and there is a very vast iterative process to ensure the AI really can scale, and not only can scale, but also can produce the value, the business value that we originally thought and expect this AI system is going to be able to produce, right? So a little bit about adopting the 5V, I call 5V framework for enterprise, and putting AI really in practice. Really, we starting by asking question, are we identifying the right problem? And what's the target state? When we're applying AI, what's the target state? What's the value this AI use case is going to be able to achieve? And then we build it probably in a MVP kind of stage, and then we scale. After we scale into the production, and really can run end-to-end for normal case and for edge case, and eventually we continue to need to invest in ensure that value can consistently and persistently produce. So this is a very lengthy and a complex process to allow an enterprise to continue to scale AI. And then a little bit about 7 key steps. We need to focus on data lifecycle. Data is the foundation for any AI use case, garbage in, garbage out. So building that enterprise data platform can address data at rest, but also can address data in use, and moving the data, and data governance is extremely important and foundational. We need to also have platform to be able to standardize and streamline ML ops that really allow us not only to build AI system, but also to manage it and to operate it. And that means that we need the ability to be able to register our model, versionize our model, to manage our feature sets, and to be able to experiment and to be able to test, but also be able to fine-tuning the model and be able to monitor the performance of the model and eliminate bias and hallucination, right? All those are really part of the ML ops platform that is important for enterprise to be able to scale AI. We need to build a very multidisciplinary team. AI is never a technology problem. AI is a multidisciplinary problem. A very productive and effective AI organization need data expertise, technology expertise, tooling, platform expertise, business product expertise, risk, compliance, ethics. All that is really the multidisciplinary talent and skill sets we need for any AI program to be able to function and scale, right? So that people and talent component over the time is the constraint, is the robot. And then really to be able to identify the right problem to address and be able to achieve that quick win, and building the confidence is also important. So I think part of the next couple of days, Ed has a session to talk about how we identify the right problem to solve, and also be able to talk to the executive and the board on the value and the prioritization of those use case is also very, very important, right? We want to, be able to, get 5, AI agents done, all produce good business value, and that's better than, have one very large complex problem that's sitting there for 2 years and it going nowhere, right? So that's really very, very important. Track the model end to end, right? Model is about, we need to build a trained model, but then there's a long process to refine and then make the model more robust and be able to just, more refine and sometimes edge case. Be able to really also focus on business process re-engineering and the governance and the reportability. That's also, extremely critical. If we just went live with text automation and RFP automation, and it used to be the old process used to be run by 100 people team, and now with this new agent, it saves 70-80% of the work. And what is that future state target model on the business process perspective and on the team size and structure perspective, and that needs to be figured out from the beginning. Otherwise, the business value is not achievable, right? We put this in production, but the old team is still there, and the old process still there, then that really doesn't make any sense, and it's not going to give you the value that system deserves. Last but not least is really identify the right tooling. And that's really very, very important. Everybody, was telling me that, the industry is happening so fast. Every 2 weeks, we have a new model come out and new tools come out from some of the, super hyperscalers. How we keep up with the tools that we used 5 years ago? Should we still keep it? What should we the core tech stack for AI? Right, so that's also extremely important. Last, I think my message is scaling AI is coming down to people, process, data, and the tooling. And then my next topic is going to be very much focused on zoom down to the tooling. As CTO and technologists, that's a area I have a lot of thinking and experimenting and love to share that learning with all of you as well. How we build a core AI tech stack that is not only effective, help you to scale quickly, but managing the cost very well and easy to maintain and easy to scale. The more doesn't mean it's easier to scale. The right, in many ways, more tools slow you down. More tools slow down the adoption as well. More tools allows you to creating an environment that could be eventually very fragmented and less simple, and that increasing the cost drastically and slow down the speed in adopting many cases as well. So that's really a little bit of sharing on scaling the AI and any question before I move into more focus on the tooling and AI tooling and the AI tech stack.
I guess the question would be, in order to progress through all of these steps and the framework, would it be better to start with a function? Because I am just thinking, if you think about a company where they have multiple functions and multiple departments, if everybody starts testing things, even though they are in pilot and not in production, is then in order to integrate that, the whole thing about the foundation of how you start applying AI to make it really scalable and then integrate it for the whole company.
Right. I think that's a great question. The expertise and the learning from many of the organizations is better focus on capability driven, right? Having 50 AI use case in 50 different functions is very difficult to scale. However, if you focus on maybe a couple major potential area, for instance, sales, accounting, and go very deep in each of that, and building a success story, a learning, and then expand to the other function, has a much better chance to succeed. Goldman Sachs focus on 2 areas, onboarding and finance. using Intellibus and cloud. In my bank, Macquarie, we focus on fundamental research and fund management automation. For instance, tax automation, FP&A planning automation, some of the back office calculation and cash flow forecasting. We focus on capability, and then once we achieve the success, we expand it to the rest of the area. That does show much higher success ratio. Yeah, do agree. Yeah. Any questions? Yeah.
Are companies, I mean, this is kind of a loaded question, but are companies equipped to even self-analyze their ability to transform themselves to do AI? It is a muscle that needs to be built, and there's so much organizational resistance. So one question is, should the diagnostic come from within or from outside? And then once you've decided to operationalize it, like there seems to be an upfront investment cost of creating the pilot and the coding. I'm assuming that's an external firm and there's some sort of payback period. I just wonder whether you can help me think through that.
Yeah. I think that's a great question. Really, how to start it? How to start this AI program? My learning is, of course, outside external consultancy and strategy firm can give you high-level roadmap, high-level strategy. You need somebody on it internally. You need the structure is a very big topic. I've been invited to a number of AI panel, really talk about what's the right structure. Some firm hire chief AI officer to run end-to-end. Some that and build a very standalone AI organization. That is multidisciplinary, has product people, engineer, everybody sitting in under chief AI officer to giving the board would give the CAIO the accountability and from end to end. That's one way. A lot of other organizations doesn't have the luxury to do that because they're very built and mature organization already. There's product team, there's technology engineer team, there's data team already. So the structure could be a lot of very fluid and a matrix. But in any way, I think there needs to be a person have that end-to-end accountability from strategy and roadmap perspective, and building the framework. The framework should really encompass the data, the technology, the process, and the risk and the compliance and as well as model, right? Those 5 different pillars. Every AI program need to have accountability for technology, data, process, talents, and the risk compliance, right? So those are very important, concept and the framework that for any organization, big or small, need to have in place before we can even tackle any AI use case, let alone to see scale, right? Hopefully that makes sense.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you.